Hello, my name is Pedro Palma, and I'll be presenting my PhD research entitled Mitigating Energy Poverty Vulnerability in Future Paradigms, Development of a Big Data Computational Model for Improved Decision Making. So what is energy poverty? Energy poverty is the inability of the population to assure the energy services, such as space heating and cooling, in their homes. This societal problem results from three main causes: the low energy performance of buildings, resulting in higher energy needs, low income of the population, and higher energy prices. It has several negative consequences, namely the decrease in property value due to the physical deterioration of buildings, low productivity in the work environment, social stigma and social isolation, health problems such as respiratory and cardiovascular diseases, and ultimately increased winter and summer excess mortality. Due to the multifaceted nature of its causes, it's a complex and persistent issue to solve, currently affecting between 30 and 120 million people in the European Union. Energy poverty has been increasingly integrated in the European policy instruments, which specially stress the need for its mitigation, but there isn't a common definition for this problem yet. In the context of the national energy and climate plans, EU members are mandated to report on energy poverty levels and develop a strategy for tackling this issue. But the approaches to these tasks have been somewhat diverse, with some countries proposing a definition and developing a comprehensive analysis, whilst others fail even to define it. Together with a lack of common definition, there is also a lack of consensus on how to measure energy poverty. The European Commission tends to favor simple national scale indicators that enable comparison between countries, but researchers highlight the need for multidimensional regional scale approaches with increased detail for improved understanding of the problem. However, these approaches are often difficult to replicate due to data constraints and describe very specific case studies, with insights difficult to extrapolate to wider contexts. Therefore, there is room for improvement in the energy poverty methodology towards the development of a consistent and comprehensive method that can be used transversely in the European Union. So focusing on the case study for this research, Portugal, and looking at the European Union survey on income and living conditions results, which report on energy poverty consequences for the households, Portugal presents worrisome results. In the European Union, it is the country with the fourth highest rate of population unable to adequately eat in their homes, and the second highest rate of population living in a dwelling with building envelope deterioration, such as leaking roofs, damp walls, and rotting window frames. In 2012, the European Union also collected information on thermal comfort in the summertime, and Portugal recorded the second highest rate of population living in a dwelling not comfortably cool. Furthermore, in a national survey conducted in 2017, high percentages of the population claim not to have insulation in their home, reported the need to significantly increase their energy consumption to maintain a comfortable temperature, and also reported to use only clothing as a way to achieve thermal comfort. Looking at the potential causes of energy poverty in the country, Portugal has the fourth highest cost of electricity and the first highest cost of natural gas in purchasing power standard in the EU for the domestic sector. It has an aging building stock with low energy performance. In fact, about 70% of the buildings have a C or worse energy performance rating. The use of decentralized and low efficiency heating systems is common, such as oil heaters and fireplaces. And there is a very low ownership rate of cooling systems, around 60% nationally. In fact, this is reflected in the energy consumption rates and the share of energy consumption for heating and cooling, which are between the lowest in the European Union. In the policy arena, there is a lack of schemes and instruments specifically designed for tackling the problem. There is a social energy tariff for the vulnerable population, which is a short-term measure, not tackling the causes of the problem and leaving out a significant part of the energy population. There are building renovation schemes in place, but have proven to be inefficient, as building renovation rate of a Portuguese building stock is currently 0.06%, well below the European target of 3%. So looking at the literature review on energy poverty metrics, there is a variety of different indicators and metrics to measure it and capture the factors that shape this issue. They can be categorized into four different types: the self-reported, capturing the experiences of the occupants; expenditure-based, comparing domestic energy expenditure to income; direct measurement, which compared domestic energy services consumption with a required set value; and supporting indirect indicators, which are indicators that do not describe energy poverty, but paint a picture of the context that might be creating the vulnerability. Some authors choose to use individual indicators, while others opt to aggregate them into composite multidimensional approaches at different spatial scales, from national to local. The authors that develop the composite approaches generally use simple indicators to depict each facet of the problem, and often leave out important dimensions. These approaches rely mostly on quantitative indicators, rarely accounting for self-reported subjective ones, and often only focus on winter energy poverty or only on one season. Regarding the temporal scale, they generally focus on past contexts, possibly due to the available data, which is frequently outdated and static. There is a lack of studies assessing the impact of future contexts using projected data, considering, for instance, policy targets such as the decarbonization in 2050. In Portugal, there are very few studies that focus on energy poverty assessments. At Sense, we developed the Energy Poverty Vulnerability Index, which considers the energy performance of the building stock, the energy consumption levels of the households, and also socioeconomic indicators to estimate energy poverty vulnerability. It enables energy poverty assessment from country to civil parish level. It is a deductive explicit model. This means the input parameters are known and influence the output. It is a static model, so the inputs and outputs do not vary over time. The output is vulnerability, so the index values depict the likeliness of finding population vulnerable to energy poverty. And it uses proportion-based indicators, which are good for comparison between regions, but do not consider the number of people affected. Only one other study on energy poverty measurement was conducted in Portugal, using the energy gap of the building stock and the low-income high-cost indicator, which is an expenditure-based indicator to estimate the percentage of energy poor people at national level. In this literature review, it became very clear that there is potential for integrating big data sources in this kind of studies, such as energy performance certificate data, which has been previously used for building stock energy needs analysis, smart meter data, which has been used for energy consumption provision and assessing consumption profiles for understanding climatization patterns and identifying energy poor consumers, and also for inside condition indicators data, such as temperature and humidity, used for thermal comfort assessments in buildings. So the goals for this research are the following. First, to create a model for winter and summer energy poverty measurements, then to test this model for neighborhood and country case studies in Portugal, then to assess the change of drivers and causes of energy poverty in the future, and then to assess future energy poverty vulnerability in Portugal and also in another European case study at regional level. The ultimate goal of this research is to produce important insights to feed policy design, hopefully to contribute to the production of more tailor-made and also more effective policy instruments in the future. In order to achieve these goals, a methodological framework has been developed, comprising 5 different but concurrent phases. In phase 1, a process of literature review is being conducted, focusing on the diversity of energy poverty causes, drivers, and consequences at different scales, as well as a review of different indicators and metrics to measure energy poverty. On phase 2, big data collection and exploration is being conducted, and the model will be developed, which is a twofold process. Firstly, the energy poverty vulnerability index will be improved, and secondly, the use of complementary methods will be assessed, such as supervised learning method classification for detailed targeting of the energy poor, and also unsupervised learning method to deepen the knowledge on the drivers. In phase 3, the plan is to test the developed model for a neighborhood and the country scale case study, and subsequently data on future projections in Portugal will be collected, aiming to create future scenarios to be assessed and to estimate future energy poverty in Portugal at regional level. In phase 4, data on future projections will be collected, but this time for a European case study, and energy poverty vulnerability will be estimated as well in order to test the transferability and functionality of the model. And in phase 5, I'll write the document of the PhD thesis. As for the data, energy performance certificates raw data on buildings characteristics, national statistics on socioeconomic indicators, climate data, and also municipal statistics on energy carrier consumption are already being used. The plan is to access further data sets, namely from property cadastres with building stock data, energy bills with electricity and natural gas expenditure, smart meters data with electricity consumptions, mortality and disease rates statistics, and also surveys, interviews, and indoor conditions data for specific case studies. Regarding the expected outcomes, currently we have finished developing complementary assessments to the main body of work that I presented, namely on the cost effectiveness of the building renovation interventions in the Portuguese building stock, and also an assessment of retrofit measures and solar potential in a Portuguese historic district for the implementation of the positive energy district concepts and also for energy poverty reduction. And as for the main outcomes of this PhD research, the first will be a review of the multi-dimensional indicators for assessing energy poverty, then the computational model for multi-spatial and multi-temporal scales crossover assessment for winter and summer energy poverty vulnerability, then an assessment of energy poverty vulnerability with this model at country level and also at neighborhood level, and then also a future energy poverty vulnerability assessment for Portugal and another European case study at regional level. Thank you very much for your attention.